including transcription of the, that helps Angela.
Oh yeah,
We're now being recorded.
Great, thank you very much.
Great, awesome.
Okay, well, listen, welcome everybody to the, gosh, this is the October Reston P&Z meeting. It's hard to believe it's October already. A couple of quick administrative things. Angelica did send out a draft of the meeting minutes, and then just maybe even recently send out the final draft. She said there weren't any changes between the draft and the final. So we will be looking to for a motion to approve those meeting minutes for the last meeting.
I so move. This is Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Second, William.
All right. I'm all in favor. Say aye. And if there's
Aye.
Aye.
all right. Meeting minutes approved.
Aye.
Second administrative item is.
Hey, Rob, this is Dave Vanel. Can you turn your volume up? I think you've got your volume low.
Okay, let me look. Second.
Just FYI, Rob, I'm hearing it pretty easily.
Okay. Maybe I'll just try to get closer to the mic. So the second administrative item is something we spoke of last time. We have only 3 committee members whose terms were coming up at the end of this year, and all 3 of them have agreed to stay on for the next year. So we really don't have any openings per se. This is the time of year where we sometimes would think about new membership and forming a subcommittee. But I'm going to recommend that because we're at our same numbers as last year, that we don't look for a subcommittee and don't look for any new members to be added for next year. And I'll just take any discussion on that.
Rob, that seems reasonable to me.
Same here. I'm happy to make a motion as such that we don't increase or change our membership based on your recommendation, Rob.
This is Tammy. I'd like to say I'd like to consider Angelica for membership as an associate due to her phenomenal dedication this last year.
Oh, thank you, Sammy.
So Tammy, I don't mind that personally, but the problem we have is if we're talking about new members, we really then need to form a subcommittee. And to be fair with what we have been doing in the past. And so I don't think we just as a lone committee can make that recommendation based on our track record and what we've agreed upon to get other community members involved.
So you're saying to admit her, we'd have to have a public open call?
I do believe, yes, I would believe that would be the proper thing to do.
Anybody else have opinions on this? I really think she should be rewarded for what she's done. It's a hard job and she's been doing it for almost a year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's only October. We could further this discussion. We don't have to make this decision tonight. I just.
Yeah, let's put it in out there and discuss it in November, please.
Okay.
Maybe we can email around so we're prepared.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Let's move on to the application we have before us tonight. This is the Armstrong Elementary School. And this is a PRC plan. And once again, I'll just remind everybody, a PRC plan, we don't see that many of them here on this committee. It's not a rezoning. It's not a zoning plan. It's not a final development plan. But based on Reston being a planned community, when you have in occasion, you have sites that have a site plan requirement, and then if they're in the PRC district, there's actually what they call a PRC plan that precedes the site plan. So that's where we are tonight with this application. So it's essentially kind of a pre-site plan, if you would. And this applicant came before us a few months ago. We all had some comments, and we all received some plans and some documents, updated ones dated October 6th, at least the letter was. And then the letter that they included did outline a lot of the changes that they made, and it looked like that they had taken a lot of what the committee had to heart and at least made some changes with respect to some of the comments this committee had, and I'm sure in addition to some other county comments that they've received. And before I forget, I must recuse myself tonight of voting. I am the Fairfax County Public Schools is a current client of mine, so I don't want to forget to mention that. So, but with that, I see a number of different representatives. Jessica, I don't know if you're presenting tonight or.
I can definitely kick it off, and not to rehash our presentation from when we went a couple months ago. We just really wanted to highlight what we've done for the application in response to your all's concerns from a couple months ago. So Paul Lund from HCM, he's actually going to take it over from here and kind of highlight our changes, and we're available to answer any additional questions you may have.
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. Good evening, members of the Planning and Zoning Committee. We're delighted to be here. My name is Paul Lund. I'm with Fort Copeland Mock Architects. I'm the principal in charge for the project. And we have prepared a presentation similar to the last one, with some updates to that sort of respond to your comments. So I will quickly put that up. I don't want to go through it in great detail and waste your time, but if there are questions, please, you can stop me or ask me to go back. So let me just get this up. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
right. Okay, so let me just start then. The project, of course, is the renovation and expansion of Armstrong Elementary School. I'll touch on the timeline just briefly. It's up in front of you now. The design and planning has been funded. It was funded in the 2021 school bond. Construction is currently unfunded, but expected to be funded in the next bond cycle. You can see that we have gone through schematic design, design development, intermediate design, and final design. Final design is where we are now. We are in permitting, and we anticipate construction beginning in the spring of 2024 and completing in summer of 2026. This is an aerial, existing aerial of the site. It sits on Fairfax County Parkway and the Lake Newport Road. Building is in the center of the screen. The existing site plan is here. You can see that there are two sort of drop-offs, one for the bus. Let me know if my arrow is working. I'm working from a single screen. Can you see my arrow?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, got it. So that's the existing bus drop-off. There's some parking here for both the faculty and the fields. There is a current kiss and ride here and another parking lot here. existing building is in gray. 110 spaces for cars, 11 for buses. Site area is just over 14 acres. It is in the PRC zone, which is why we're here. And the existing area of the building is about 80,000 square feet. We are enhancing and making the bus drop-off better. We're at the front area. We're also adding some parking and some stormwater management work. On this side of the building, we are going to have the kiss and ride also kind of reconstructed and increased. So the parking goes up to about 146. There are 3 additions that you can see working clockwise, one here, and one here. So the addition is about 27,000 square feet, bringing the overall building to about 107. So let me just sort of stop here, and I will kind of summarize what we heard at the last one and kind of conversations that have occurred in the investigations and so forth. First off, we heard a comment about bird safing. Wanted to look at, we have some glass expanses that I'll show you in just a minute. There was concern about bird strikes. We have gone back and done research, and we have identified films that can be added to the glass to make them bird safe. So we are intending to do that in the large areas of glazing on the building. I'll get to the specifics of where, but generally it's on the entrance area and the library addition. The next thing that we heard was about landscaping at the front of the building. Last time we were with you, we didn't have any landscaping at the front of the building. Over here, we have added that, and I can go into detail a little bit later on that, but we've added 2 areas of planting, one here and one here. That was a direct result of your comments. There was a question about whether there was on-site storm retainage. There is. It's under the kiss and ride, approximately here, this location. And there was discussion of whether there was solar PV panels on the roofs. There is currently no PV array planned for the project, but there is structural enhancement of all of our additions so that they are able to carry PVs in the future. So those are those gray areas that you see there. And then there was a question, lastly, the last issue that was brought up was the question about green roofs. So we did go back to the school system and talk to them about green roofs. And we have representatives from the school here that can add any kind of commentary to this, but I will say that the instruction back was they didn't have the ability to maintain these facilities, and they had no program for getting students onto the roof. So they've asked us to not include that because they can't really do that across the county. So I will pause there and just go through a few more things. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm gonna, I think, skip over the floor plans because they don't really focus on your comments, but we can go back to these if there are questions. So we've updated the rendering, and you can kind of see in the green areas, which I think was a great comment from the committee, of just lack of greenery. So we've added it here and here, kind of bracketing the new main entrance of the building, which is here, that sits underneath the canopy. As I mentioned earlier, the glass areas that we were going to add the film to include these large expanses of glass at the entry, in this case. This is a taste of the interior of the building. The other area that has an large expanse of glass is over at the library, where we have north light. So this particular area here, and this area here, we're again putting on some glazing for bird strike prevention. The interior of the library looks something like this. So you're looking out those glazed areas looking to the north on the right-hand side of the page. So I can pause and see if there are any questions or if anyone wants me to go through the interior of the building at all. We did that last time, so I want to be respectful of your time.
Thank you, Paul. So do any members have any questions? Please raise your hand in the chat. Start with Tammy.
Thank you very much. Two questions I had immediately. Have you been to the RADRB with your plan?
No,
You have not? Did you say no or
no. RADB, I'm not familiar with that.
the Reston Association Design Review Board? You are in the PRC, which means you're in the Reston Association area, and you have to have your plan. Isn't that right, Rob? Plan approved by the Reston Design Review Board.
Yeah, when we spoke of it last meeting, you all indicated you were going to go there this fall to the DRB.
Right. Yeah, please get on that schedule. It's not easy. You just can't walk in and, yeah, they meet, I think, weekly or every other week, but there's a lot going on in Reston, so in that they have venue over.
Tammy, this is Dave Stigler with Panoni. I know
Yes.
that a couple weeks ago we were working on that application with Horde Copeland Mock to do that. I don't know if it's been filed yet,
Okay.
but it's
Yeah.
definitely on their radar, and they're planning on doing it. Yes.
Yeah, given your timeline, you're going to want to get in there and get that approved. You have to go there before you go to Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other thing is, are you planning while you're working during the school year to have, I saw the mobile classrooms up on the playing field on one of the diamonds. Is that your plan while school is in session and you're working on a specific area? The children in the affected classrooms would be moved to those portable units? How are you staging while you have an active school, in other words?
That is the intent. That's typically the way that the school system does it. So yes, as something gets renovated and classroom count goes down, those temporaries will be utilized.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate the window treatment and for the birds and the new landscaping. That looks a lot better. Thank you very much. That's all for me.
All right, let's go on to William.
Yes, one of the things I'd like to do, putting on my Audubon at home hat here. One of the most effective types of bird resistant or stopping bird strikes grids is dots that are basically 4 inches on center in both directions. So you might not have to really do a film over the whole glass because of the way the dots work. You could actually use some of those little dots that they put on cabinetry for closing the doors that are clear and they just stick on. I mean, that's what a lot of homeowners are doing. But basically, there's been a number of big studies about what it is that's there. And strange patterns will do that, will work, but you don't really have to go that far to have a full film with a strange pattern on it that we can't see, but that they can. But you can get it down to little dots or even just like crosshairs that are like on 4-inch centers. So There's a lot of different kinds of products out there that can do that other than just a full film. The other thing is that I'd still like to say, if you use the right kind of vegetated roof, you don't end up with any maintenance of it except extremely rare, and that's when it's in extreme drought condition. But what happens is that the roof can become a subtraction of your stormwater retention tanks, because the kinds of purple roofs that they're called, that can get you to the point where that part of the roof acts as a stormwater retention tank on basically about a 1-to-1 ratio, or maybe even better, because it is also that system also takes over the filtration. So just, consider it. It's like, it's not something that, since you're going ahead and doing the structural modifications to take care of the solar panels, typically when that is done, it also takes care of whatever the water retention would be on the roof. Because remember, you have to have scuppers, and the scupper overflow point will be the same on a vegetated roof as is on a regular roof. So you're really not holding any much more water rate than what you're already designing for. Just something to consider. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you about those two comments. The glazing, we found the same thing, the 4-inch grid of dots. The film is just an easier way to apply it and keep them kind of consistent. So that is something, I think you'll end up seeing something like that on the building ultimately.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because then the rest of it, other than the little dots, that's basically the only thing that anybody might have a chance of seeing. And if they've done the film right, we, the humans, couldn't see it, but the birds can.
Thanks, William. Let me go to David and or Sue. I should have asked earlier, are both of you in attendance tonight, David and Sue?
Yes, we are
Yes,
both
we
here.
Got it.
Yes, I agree with everything that William has just mentioned and strongly urge you to consider that. I know Fairfax County uses chips and not leads or net zero, but I think that as a county, there has to be a start. And I think, this could be a project where some of those breakthroughs happen with solar panels and with purple roof or green roof. You showed the busing and then the separate parking, and Armstrong Elementary is very fortunate to have a separate access egress for their bus drop-offs and then also their kiss and ride drop-off. And I'm wondering if Armstrong Elementary school population increases, is the kiss and ride drop-off point, is that length adequate that there would not be any backup onto Lake Newport Road?
I would have to ask, David is with Pannoni, our civil engineer. Do you want to weigh in on that one? Go to the slide for that.
So it has been lengthened. I don't have those numbers in front of me about how much more stacking, but it's been
Right.
reviewed. It's been reviewed in detail
Okay.
by Fairfax County Public Schools and determined to be adequate.
Okay, so stacking hasn't been a problem in the past, and you wouldn't anticipate in the future if there's a school population increase. Okay, all right. A few other things for bike racks. I would recommend additional bike rack slots, especially on the northeast corner. You have a large residential population that would feed into those bike racks, and so I would recommend that you increase those. Also, I would recommend more than 3 electric charging stations in your parking lot. And one other thing, just in looking overall at the location and the area of the athletic fields and the playgrounds, and redevelopment of that. You know, being as close as it is to the Fairfax County Parkway, has there ever been a decibel level reading taken? You know, the students are out there, you know, a good part of the school day, and I'm just wondering if there's any indication because of decibel level that a sound wall should be put in. Again, I don't know if there's space for that along the county parkway, but you know, again, this would be a county project. But has there been a decibel level taken?
There have not, to my knowledge, not been a decibel level taken, nor has there been any indication from the leadership of the school that the sound is an issue.
Right.
I have certainly not experienced in my time on the site. That doesn't mean there isn't one, but when I was there, I actually couldn't even hear the traffic. Certainly not in the building. But I think your point is when the students are outside.
Right. And again, you know, playgrounds can be noisy and athletic fields can be noisy, but the increased traffic on Fairfax County Parkway, the sound, the decibel level certainly has increased over the last, you know, 4 or 5 years. And so I would just recommend that a sound decibel level be taken, a measurement be taken out on the athletic field there. And I think you're presenting more, so I was just trying to address things that you had already reviewed. So I'll let you go ahead with your presentation. I may have another question or two.
That was the completion of the presentation.
Oh, that was the completion of it. Okay. Then with the keeping the chain link fencing, the 10-foot chain link fencing for purposes tree safe, you know, certainly sounds reasonable, environmentally sensitive. It all sounds good. The waiver of the northern, eastern, and southern barriers to save trees and to provide a more attractive buffering screening. Again, it's environmentally sensitive. It's more attractive. I'm just wondering, though, about safety implications and if those have been discussed, because I know that I've seen more and more chain link fences go up, and often this is because an administrator, you know, wants to provide a safer school boundary, yet sometimes these sort of become a chain link fence as a wall, but it kind of isn't connected and goes to nowhere. And so I'm just wondering, is the administration in line with your thinking on that as far as not needing the additional chain link fencing?
This is Dave with Benoni.
Right.
It's been our experience in working with the schools that it's their preference not to close the site, to have it more porous.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
preference. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
And okay. And have there been many opportunities to meet with the you know, the school community and to have you know, parent input and also student input into this design?
We have had community meetings. We do have a representative from the school system on the phone or on the meeting here, if you'd like to weigh in on that community engagement piece.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, this is Najib Hamid with FCPS. Paul, if you can go to the slide 3, I think it's slide 3, which shows the project timeline. Yeah, everyone can see this? Good evening, everyone. So I'd like to explain that where we start from, like as a FCPS representative when we get a project. So we start with planning and design. Then we start with our designers. We start the schematic design. Then we have the school representative, which we call Design Feedback Engagement Committee, and is included of our designers and the school committee. So it will be a rep from a school that they can provide input for design from the beginning. And you can see from here that we had a couple of design committee meeting, and as well as we had one on spring 2023. We had a community meeting that the neighborhood could attend this meeting and participate in this meeting and could provide feedback on this design.
Okay. Okay, and then I just had one other question, and I know you were focused primarily on the tree save and the overall design. I noticed that on the south side, you have a proposed or possible outdoor classroom. And I was hoping that you would have more detailed information on the outdoor classroom. This is essential to Fairfax County school curriculums. STEAM or STEM plus art has become a very integrated part of the entire curriculum. And it's not enrichment, it's not extra stuff. And so that design really should include a large working garden space where students and teachers and parents and families and the neighbors can work with planting flowers, vegetables, fruits. Should have adequate water connections. It should have areas for compost barrels to for cafeteria food scraps that the students would collect and compost. There should be rain barrels connected to gutters or a consideration of a cistern. Picnic tables, benches where students can do their recording, their computations, their writing. So I would just like to see not the word possible or proposed outdoor classroom. I would like to see a concerted effort to work with your STEAM curriculum experts in the county to really define what this will look like. It's really one of the most important parts of this renovation. And that's all.
Thanks, Sue.
Mhm.
I'd like to know if the applicant at least has a response to the outdoor classroom comment. If there is any more detail, or if that's in
That's pathetic. That's really pathetic.
Paul, are you able to?
Hi, Paul. Are we going to speak about the outdoor classroom or Dave?
So,
I
Paul, I believe there's a design that Horkop and Mock. I know you're sitting in for Pete Bloom, the project manager, but I believe he's worked up a design for that, and maybe that could be forwarded to the group. I don't.
Just as a suggestion.
It's more than just a box right now.
Yeah, apologies. This is Paul Lund here. I had a brownout at the house and the internet went down. I'm on my phone, and Justin is joining me on this call from another location, so he could pull up the plan if we need to see any images. But apologies. Yeah, the outdoor classroom is a requirement. It's part of the ed spec from Fairfax County Public Schools, and a lot of the things that you mentioned, things like the rain barrel connection, the water, tables, hard surface, gardening areas, raised beds, are all part of the considerations that they are giving to these spaces.
Okay, this is just a area that I think is really important to work closely with the Armstrong community and with the teachers, especially the teachers who are working with STEAM. They can often
Hi.
give you the firsthand knowledge of, why it's important, to locate it for better light, for better, whatever conditions are needed. I think it can be really helpful to talk with them and work with your curriculum experts also in the county on what's needed there.
All right, thanks, Sue, and thanks, Paul, for that response. Let's go on to Michelle. She has her hands up twice.
Sorry about that. I tried on my phone. It might still be on. I don't know. But here I am on my computer, hopefully. Okay, so I just had a question, and forgive me. I was a bit late today. But with the playgrounds, is there a change of use? Because I know I've used those when I've coached t-ball and baseball, but now it says softball. Is there a can you explain more just on the vision for the upper playgrounds?
Those fields are existing and will be maintained. David, you can kind of weigh in a little bit more if I missed any of the details on that, but we are not really changing them in per se, other than improving them with fencing and access. We're providing accessibility up the hillside there from the parking area to allow people to navigate that, whether they're in a wheelchair or can't navigate the steps. There's also benches and trash receptacles and things like that. So there's an overall improvement, but the fields themselves are being maintained.
I believe they're being resized as well. They may not be this exact size. Maybe someone else from the team could verify that.
Yes, Dave. They're the one on the east is just being expanded in right field to meet the FCPS requirement.
Thank you, Laura.
And then it says also the it looks like it's proposed soccer field. So it would be also used as a soccer field too.
That's right. It'd overlay. It'd be a dual use area there. Yep, that's correct.
Is it currently used for soccer as well?
Laura, I think it is, isn't it, Laura? Do you know that?
I think on Google Earth, I've seen some spray paint out there for smaller fields.
Many fields.
Yes.
Okay, my reason for asking is it is a challenge to schedule fields for the baseball leagues. So I'm trying to get a sense if now there's going to be additional competition for the fields, and just to have a better community wide understanding.
Okay, I'm back and I've shared the presentation again. Hopefully everyone can see that. In terms of the field use and sharing, I'd have to, again, defer to Fairfax County Public Schools rep who's on the call.
I'm Michelle Haney. I work with Reston Association. The type of use that my kids have used that in the past for that was soccer was like the small me and my ball type thing for literally 2 and 3 year olds. GFR doesn't typically use that space for like major soccer competitions. It's kind of in off season from baseball. So I don't think it's a new competition for true soccer fields. But FCPS would need to be, I'm saying in the past, that's what it's been used for.
Thanks, Michelle Haney. That was helpful to have that context. Michelle Kimmel, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other, David and or Sue?
Hi, this is David's turn. I just want to echo what William Pegues talked about the green roof technology that really doesn't, and it's not built to have students up there, and it's also built to require a minimal maintenance. And I just think that's something that, you know, even if Fairfax County schools as a writ large don't have that thing, there's in their new additions, there's no reason why Armstrong shouldn't.
All right, Richard Kennedy.
Sorry, I'm late and I missed a lot of the good discussion. I thought the new discussion of what we did the last time was good. There's just one issue that I'd like to raise, and I hope it hasn't been addressed before, and I'm adding more. But is there any better way of than last time we saw this picture of cheering up the front of the entrance area for this elementary school? It just looks so basic, and it would seem to me that it would brighten up everyone's day if they had a little light in I mean color, not a light, but color in the front of their building where a lot of people go in. Yeah.
We did bring this up. We talked, I'm not sure when you joined tonight, but we did add greenery per the last comment. So you can kind of see we added two new planters that kind of are to either side of the entrance canopy. There also are colored panels here on the administrative wing as well. And certainly when you get into the kind of the main street of the school, there's a lot of bright colors that kind of are very similar from the exterior. This is the library. It kind of picks up on the blue and that brighter color that perhaps you're looking for here.
Okay. One of the other pictures there that all the color is the school bus that I could see on my computer. So that's partly why I raised it, but I think you raised some new things that are up above the top of where that school bus is related to the building itself. And if it's what I understood you described, that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
That's all I have.
Let's go to Tammy and then back to Michelle.
Thank you. I would like to say also, I second David Vanel's comment on the green vegetated roof. This idea that Fairfax Armstrong's not doing it because it's not done system-wide is sort of crazy, because when do you adopt a money-saving new technique for cooling as well as retaining your stormwater? This idea that it's not done countywide, therefore we're not doing it here, is crazy. The other point would be our storms are getting stronger, and if you have this, the vegetated roof can absorb, if in a purple design, a lot of that stormwater. So please go back and reconsider this. I really urge you to do that. We have been working on vegetated roofs now for 2.5, 3 years, and more companies are adopting it. So please do not ever say, well, it's not done system-wide, therefore we're not doing it here. We're not asking you to have students on the roof or a pony farm. We're asking for things that are environmentally sustainable and responsible and cheaper in the long run. So please do go back and ask that question again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Michelle, and then on to William.
Okay, hi. One last thing. I don't know if you've already considered, since it's the school is for community use outside of school hours. Have you considered near the basketball courts, possibly striping for pickleball? Or because it seems like it's pretty far away from homes in that location, and might be a pretty decent spot for one court if someone were to bring a net.
That is currently not included in the project. I'm not sure, again, whether the school system's doing that. But at this point, it's not on our plans.
Okay, it'd be great if you could consider it, because I know there's a significant community need for additional courts, especially public courts. And so to the extent that, a space were able to be created, especially one that was not impactful on neighbors, I think that would just be a tremendous benefit to the entire community.
All right, William Pegues.
Yes, I'd just like to point out a couple of things. That my own personal experience with vegetated roofs is that one of my projects that I did is still listed as the second largest vegetated roof in the country. I think it's probably really third instead of second, but that's neither here nor there. One of the things that's really not understood is how much it does for the heat gain through the roof. A white roof, just to give you an example, a white roof with reflective criteria on it, the membrane itself will be essentially 110 degrees on a day where it's 71 degrees outside on a clear day, no clouds. This test was run then showing what happens when you show right beside it a minimal vegetated roof. The absolute minimum you can do means that it's not got any real water retention capacity in it at all. Is running at 1 degree cooler than the actual ambient air temperature. So over those areas where you would put a vegetated roof is the difference between the membrane transferring to the inside of the building, because its temperature itself will be 110 degrees, where the soil level at the vegetated roof, given the small shading that a small 6-inch sedum plant would do, is only 71 degrees. So it's like, what do you want to do? You can make your HVAC system smaller, or save on insulation, whichever you wanted to go that way. The other is that the world's largest vegetated provider for roofs is in Culpeper, Virginia. It's Semper Green. They're an international organization. The president of the U.S. Of Semper Green has his office at that location, and they have set up and sponsor with several roofing membrane manufacturers a testing facility, and they would be glad to have anybody go down and take a look at it. And actually, at no cost to you, they would show you how the testing facility works and what some real values are, because it's a stormwater simulation machine that runs different panels through, so you can see what it's actually doing and come away with real data. They also assist with getting civil engineers having an understanding of how it actually works, so that they can use the calculations for the vegetated roofing systems of different kinds in actual stormwater calculations. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Any other comments from the committee members? All right, hearing none. I guess Jessica and team, give us a sense of where you are in the process, both with the county and then, you know, reaching onto your approvals and, you know, whether you were searching for a vote tonight or you were looking to come back.
No.
I hadn't really talked to you about that.
In terms of where we are in the process, we resubmitted in response to the county's first round of comments 2 Fridays ago. So that would be October 6th. I think we mentioned last time that we're tentatively scheduled for a March 2024 Planning Commission date.
And Rob, I would add that the site plan is going to be submitted very soon as well. Now that we had some really good detailed comments on the PRC plan, we can submit the site plan.
All right, so David, you're doing a concurrent site plan filing with the PRC.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And in terms of, you know, you all voting, we would love that tonight if you all are prepared for that.
Well, I'm just, you know, hearing some of the reaction from some of the committee members, and not sure how that vote would go, quite frankly, but certainly could always take a vote. But I think you're hearing strongly from the community that, you know, try to take the green roof idea seriously. And this is certainly something that public schools has to weigh in on heavily. There, I will say that I know my colleague, William Pegues, is a promoter of the purple roof system. My understanding is Fairfax County will not give full credit for that system, that where you could maybe get a one-to-one benefit from a stormwater perspective in some other parts of the country. I've talked to the Zephyr Green people myself, and at last speak, they still hadn't convinced Fairfax County that their system does what they say it does. So you have to understand that a little bit more, just from a perspective of what, I mean, obviously the green roof has a tremendous benefit, don't get me wrong. But when we talk about the stormwater benefit specifically, we have to worry, Fairfax County Department of Public Works takes a very conservative approach at what credits that they will give and allow in order to reduce your stormwater credits. Dave, I don't know if you have comments on that statement or not.
No, Rob, you're absolutely right. It does not get the credit that you'd want it to get, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think the school had a policy to stay away from it.
But you can still get the credit for what it's going to act as an insulation.
Correct.
It also makes any solar panels run more efficiently too.
So again, Jessica and team, I'm just judging from the committee that there might be a few loose ends here that we just probably need some
Sure.
a little bit more fine-tuned answers and responses and or changes to the plan in response to comments that you're hearing.
We can huddle internally and get back to you all either with a rescheduled date when you meet next in the next month or so, or we can also provide written answers to specific questions, whichever you all think is easier.
Okay, yeah. I mean, at some point we do need to take a vote in order for you all to move forward.
Hey, Rob, this is John. I just want to make a comment here for people to consider. While the comments are all great and I don't disagree with most of them, I'm just wondering if we can make some kind of motion today that will help them carry things forward, because I know how frustrating it can be to have to come back time and again, and if there's a way for us to figure out a way to move this forward, I think we should consider it.
All right, it just takes a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the plans as presented, with a caveat that we'd like the school system in general, including this school, to seriously consider the green roof perspective that our team has talked about, given that that's a requirement by Fairfax County for most applicants.
Second.
All right, there's a motion, it's been seconded. Comments from the committee before we take a vote, and we'll take a vote by the raising of hands after comment time. So Tammy, you have a comment.
Yeah, you know, I know it's hard to budge Fairfax County Public Schools off the dime when they have intractable, we've done it this way, we're going to continue to do it that way. Our society and our climate is changing. It's hot as hell. The roof insulation factor of a green roof is huge. If the county will not give you credit for the stormwater, which will come, you know, as they learn more, hopefully, at least this, as a taxpayer, I would like to see these very sustainable purple roofs adopted on our public facilities, because they do save on utilities, which is a forever expense. It makes the students more comfortable and the faculty and administration in these buildings. So I'm not in I appreciate John Capilla's motion, but I'm not prepared to vote favorably. The school system needs a little bit of a shove here to open up and think about how they're spending our money and not using resources that are available.
Thank you, Tammy. Hey, before I go on to Michelle's, let me just, I heard the applicant mention that there was a policy by the school board system-wide, and so I want to make sure we're not trying to buck something that is larger than this one singular project. So can someone from the design team address that issue? Is there a school policy to not do green roofs?
Najib, do you want to weigh in on that? Najib is from the school system.
Yes. So as a Fairfax County Public School, we have no program for green roof because Fairfax County Public School have a department that maintain like 200 plus facilities all around the around the county, and for the long range maintenance, like it would be so difficult to only consider one school as a green roof, and maintaining that one would be not a practical plan for the public school. And we haven't like when we start designing a school, we always follow up our programming and spec, and we haven't done such a program in our spec with any of the school around. So yeah, like maintenance wise, it's so difficult for Fairfax County Public School to maintain a roof, green roof, and we haven't done for any school yet.
All right, let me go on to Michelle and then David and or Sue.
You know, I'm more in line with what Tammy's saying here. You know, it just because you haven't done it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be, and doesn't mean that it shouldn't be right now. And I think we need more than just a will you consider this, you know, and never hear back, because that's what we do with a lot of things, and we never hear back and they never get done. And this is a different situation. We're sitting here as taxpayers, parents, community members, and it needs to start somewhere. So why not here? So I don't think that this is sufficient, given that we're probably not going to see another renovation of this building for quite some time. So to pass up on this now, and to really push for it now, to not do that, seems like just an absolute waste of an opportunity. So I'd hope we'd reconsider that.
Thank you, Michelle. David and or Sue?
Yeah, I would like to endorse the comments that were made by Tammy and Michelle. It seems to me that Fairfax County Schools has an opportunity. They're not listening, frankly, to the person who designs these things for a living. And they apparently either don't want to listen, or I'm not quite sure what the sclerosis is, but we need to hold their feet to the fire. This is an overall savings. You were told that there is no maintenance, and I don't get why we're not trying to push forward. The Fairfax County school system is not trying to push forward with better design.
I also agree with Michelle and Tammy. Fairfax County policies can be reviewed and they can be improved. And certainly they need to be improved to meet more environmentally sensitive plans and green school council plans. Fairfax County is behind the nation on this, and they really need to take a step, and this would be a start, a place to try something out, to experiment with it. It makes sense. I certainly can't vote in favor of this project today. I would like all of the comments and questions that I had addressed in a presentation in the future.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, David. Back up here. Richard Kennedy.
Call my name?
Yes. You have your
Good.
hand up?
I'm totally behind the argument that the county school system needs to have a push on this. If they're worried about the size of their portfolio, that's one thing. We're not asking them to do it when it's a totally special new thing. It's stuff that has been, that we hear about month after month after month as the right thing to do. And you can tell William has made the arguments that I think it's required in anything of any significance in the District of Columbia next to us. What in the argument that the representative of the school system made seemed awfully weak. So I'm 100% behind it. We hear it constantly, and it's better and it's smarter. And why not have that in elementary school so that the kids have some sense of people trying to save the climate? Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Katie.
Hey, hi, good evening. Yeah, so I mean, I just have to say, it looks great. I wanted to be able to like vote and say like, yes, I would have definitely voted yes on this, but I just can't because exactly what everyone else has said. It is a public facility where, America's now trying to go green and we're trying to, be more thoughtful on the environment. So this is the time for Fairfax County school system to show up for what a lot of people are already saying anyway. And as a taxpayer, I would be delighted to have one of our schools, pave the way for going green roofs. And William here is like an expert in it, and he's telling us how to do it. And maybe the school system would want to engage with William and ask him, how can we make this happen?
Amen.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, I personally know the U.S. president of Separate Green and have for many years. And I can make introductions for anybody. He'll be glad to run his test panels as an example. He's worked with a couple of people on projects in Fairfax County where they have done the larger purple roof type systems. But what I'm even saying is that just the bare minimum 6-inch deep vegetated roofing system using only sedums. And that's where you get the big temperature differential. And it just gets better the more robust system that you use. Purple roof being at the top end of it. That's what's called a sponge roof being in the middle, and then just the basic sedum covered roof, even in trays, will give you the temperature difference.
Thank you, William. We have a motion on the floor. We've gotten comments. Now let's go ahead and open that for a vote, just because just to finish this off. So the motion was to approve the application with the understanding.
Willing to, hey, Rob, I'm listening to everyone and trying to consider what a good path forward here is. I'm willing to amend my motion slightly. And I don't know if the applicant, if Jessica's the one that would respond, or the Fairfax County Public Schools. Are you willing to agree to adding I don't know what you want to call it, but some level of green roof to this project? At least as a test project for Fairfax County Public Schools, and to consider during future discussions with the schools on how to incorporate these long-term into all facilities, something like that.
I'm going to have to defer to Najib with the schools on that.
It's not a question of William. If you were making up the argument for this, what is the worst thing that might go against you by the school district in trying to sell the green roof?
Hey, Richard, before we go there, let's let Najib answer that from the school district's point of view. That question was posed to him.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. It's not that we are against green roof or with this program, but due to some constraints with this project, it doesn't look like viable for us to put green roof for this project specifically. So the first factor or constraint that I mentioned about was like maintenance requirement for long term for this school, and there are some other, like we have like budget constraint for this project, and we didn't see as an elementary school as a practical within the school environment for this green roof, and implementing such a green roof is not viable option for this project. So that's why we consider that it wouldn't be viable for this project. But we also have alternative sustainability solution that will align with the project goals and constraint that we have chips, and our designer will explain more for more alternative sustainability for this project.
So, John, I don't know if that answers your question, but what do you want to do with your motion?
Good question. I'm trying to find some way forward, but doesn't seem like we're going to get there. So I guess let's leave it on the table and take a vote.
All right. So the motion as it is was to approve the application, but asking them to please consider adding green roofs in their design. So those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand with Richard.
Dick Kennedy, your hand is up already.
Yeah, can you remove
You need to put it down. Okay.
All right, so those are in favor of the motion. I see John's hand up. And I'm abstaining from voting. So Mike Jenkins and Matt. So I see 3. All right, so 3 are in favor. And if you could remove your hands, you 3 voters. All right, and those against the motion, please raise your hand. I'll just assume nobody except me. 7.
8, because Sue is voting
Yeah,
with
we're times 2.
Yep. Thanks for that reminder. Okay, so the motion fails. Yeah, as I think we started to say earlier, I think if the applicant can come back and really address some of the specific comments, and not just the green roof, there were other comments made tonight that I think need to be at least addressed, or as to reasons that something can or cannot be done. I think that would be helpful to be able to move the application forward. But
Yep, we can do that.
yeah, I mean, we really appreciate what you came in with tonight. You answered a lot of questions from the last time, but green roof was heavily emphasized before. I'm just not sure we have the answer for that tonight here. So as you can see, we're certainly a lot of people passionate about climate change, and green roofs, and all the benefits of it. And Najib, I know you're up against your own standards, and please come back and help any of us understand that against, or if there's a way to maybe do this as a pilot project, maybe that's the win-win for everybody. So
Sure, Rob. I will see what we can do.
Rob, could I ask one quick question?
yes, sir.
I would like to know what William says about the needs for special treatment in terms of keeping a green roof working properly as opposed to a regular roof.
Sure. Actually, there's not very much at all. In the majority of cases, if a really thin one, trays, which is almost never used these days, it's too minimal, are the only ones that really need some help. However, even they have been used in what you would consider almost a hostile environment, putting them on top of bike stations, bus stops, things like that, where they get minimal water and they survive. The sedums that are being used are very drought tolerant in these conditions, mostly because they're not native sedums. They're a European sedum, and that's what's been used predominantly on green roofs for many years from when they started, a number of years ago. It's still being used for the most part. It doesn't require a lot of soil or growing medium to get to the point where what you need to do in times of drought is very minimal, because it just holds water on, or it holds moisture on its own, and the sedums don't require a lot of moisture. So a lot of the concerns and statements about it requires maintenance, it requires maintenance, it requires maintenance, it's like no, no, and no. Minimal, yes. You do have to be able to take care of them in drought situations, but in non-drought situations, they're pretty much a grow it and forget it, because they're meant to survive in drought conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Jessica, any parting words from your all's end?
Oh, no, we appreciate the feedback, and we understand your concerns with the green roof. And I think the schools will, and us will all huddle internally and address the green roof question, as well as the additional questions that were raised tonight. And we can come back next month if that works for you all.
Yeah, we do have a pretty open schedule both in November and December, just so you know. So that would work.
Okay. We will talk internally and see what works with our schedule, and me or Susan will reach out to you, Rob.
And please give Fairfax County, Najib and his superiors time to change their minds rather than rushing back, because this committee is not going to be happy until there's a green roof on the school in Reston. You know, we need to start making some smarter choices with our tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Does anyone else from the schools, or Paul, Dave, have any more comments?
I don't have any more comments. I've taken very good notes, as well as I know my colleagues have on the phone, and we're going to need to huddle and talk to the school system about their concerns and outline responses to what has been brought up today.
Yeah, I did those remarks. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, Paul, David, every team, thank you for everything tonight, and look forward to seeing you at whenever the next meeting is that you can present.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Rest of the committee members, there is no other agenda items tonight. There are no other agenda items tonight. Any other items that of interest that anybody wants to share, or
Anybody
interested? That I'd like to go ahead, please.
Anybody interested in the casino conversation going on?
Really?
My understanding, it's our supervisors very much against it, and I think others are, so I'm not too worried about it.
Oh,
But
I think you should be
the right-
very worried about it. They're putting millions of dollars into getting this thing approved, getting this out of committee and getting it approved. I'm with you, Dick. I wish I could be as calm, but
Well,
considering what's come out today, millions of dollars are being dedicated to getting this thing actually going. So just everybody keep their ears open, please. We know that, our local officials are not for it, but that's not who we're up against.
Well, that's good to know. But let me get back to one other issue. I would like to see, I don't know if it would be best coming from you, Rob, but I think we need to make sure that our supervisor understands what we're arguing for here, and that maybe it is going to be the only school in Fairfax County that has a green roof, but that can be a good thing.
Yeah, after all, there's Terraset, which isn't really a green roof, but it's kind of a buried building as opposed to a green roof.
Yeah.
We used to brag about that all the time too. My kids went there.
Yes.
Right.
So,
and the only maintenance you had to do was to like roll the lawnmower up over the top of that one.
Well, what do you think about what I said, Rob?
No, I mean, Dick, we certainly are up against the Fairfax County Public Schools traditional way. I will say I don't want to minimize the maintenance question. I mean, I've done a lot of green roofs designs in my day, and there are challenges to getting them started. Just sedums and contractors and getting it watered, and I mean, once it's up and established, yeah, it's a pretty low maintenance type of thing, but to get it going and get it done right is can be a challenge. And so,
well, that's one of the great things about the newer sedums that have been going down for years now, is that sedum mats as opposed to plugs. Plugs work great in Europe. They do not work here in the US at all, unless you're like north of here considerably. Because our environment, if we take it straight across to Europe, is like saying, oh, we're like, North Africa and southern Spain is where we are as far as sun exposure. So plugs just really don't work here very well. But what does work
come as a cost, though, William. The mats come as a cost. Pretty high.
It comes as a cost, but then again, you're rolling it out and you got 100% coverage on day one. And the maintenance for it is not that great. And the big thing is that many people are just like, oh yeah, we'll water it. We don't need to do any maintenance. But you can have the installers, if you get the right one, and there are several really good ones in the area here that have maintenance programs for them. And downtown in DC, people were doing these because it was an amenity, and putting them on residential roofs just because they looked better when you were looking out from an amenity space on the roof as opposed to looking at white roofs. It's providing a number of other things. It actually makes the air cooler because you're not sending the heat back up into the air again. And it makes solar panels run more efficiently because you're cooling the underside of it instead of reflecting the heat back up to them again. But maintenance is really not that expensive. And the maintenance on all of these programs really include not only watering it at times when it needs to, but also coming back and replacing any areas that have failed. So that it maintains it. But it's not a major outrageous expense these days.
I just recently got a green roof quote and it was $25 a square foot.
What, for maintenance?
No, for initial construction cost.
For initial construction, yeah. Okay. Now, did that include everything, or how much were they excluding anything, or were they including everything that's part of the roofing system?
It was a pre-grown tray system that we were looking at.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, that's pretty significant to deal with anyway. I mean,
I haven't talked much tonight, but I've been listening and I have a lot of thoughts, and and I did vote to support this project, and I like green roofs. I've used them on buildings before. I mean, we mentioned downtown DC. I worked on a lot of projects down there. Pretty much every one of them that had a flat roof had a green roof on them. We used them, like was just mentioned, as amenity spaces or as spaces that were just nicer to look at from an amenity deck. But I'm also struggling a little bit with how fixated we are as a group on this one element of a building or a project. I guess the way that I've always looked at buildings as far as how they perform and their energy efficiencies is really as a complete system of a lot of different pieces that are working together. I do think green roofs can do some good things. I'm not opposed to them, but I also understand there are concerns always on any project with cost and maintenance. I know we're talking about that now, but sometimes I wish we could have a little bit more of a holistic approach to these types of things and say, okay, well, maybe the green roof is not the right solution, but maybe there are other ways that this building could, be more energy efficient, whether it's more efficient HVAC units or better insulation on the roof or more efficient windows or the way that it's oriented with, shades. I mean, I guess that's kind of my issue is it's feeling like this is kind of a solution to everything. And I think it has a piece to play, but there's a lot of other things that need to be considered holistically when we're looking at a project other than simply this check mark of whether it has a green roof or not.
Well, I think you also have to fairly look at what the green roof can do because it can deal with a lot of insulation issues. I mean, it can really increase the insulation on the immediate area that's under it.
Sure, but maybe maybe you just put more insulation up there, and that's a more cost-effective solution on a particular project to meet the performer and the budget of that project.
Yeah, maybe you can, but does anybody ever do it? No, I mean,
No.
They don't do it.
But I mean, we could say, okay, well, what's code minimum insulation on this roof? It's R39 or something. And we could say, well, we'd like you to be R52. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could approach energy efficiency and making it better in a building than simply a green roof. That's a piece, but it's not the only thing.
True. But, you can decide to have less insulation then. and have a green roof do part of it. It's like not a problem. It's like it can help filter the water for you. People who are building these cloud facilities all over Loudoun County, they're very resistant to the idea of vegetated roofs, even though it can filter the water that they have to do massive filtrations for their water storage system. And they don't. They just filter it
Well,
in it. They will not.
and
be
I haven't
willing to
seen
look
their
at it.
pro forma or their cost benefit analysis, but I'm guessing that they have some reason for not doing that, because if it was truly going to save them a bunch of money in construction cost and long-term operating cost, I would think they would do it. I mean, I know there's other things going on simply than people just not wanting to do it because they don't want to. I mean, they have to. I've tried to sell this before to clients, and they've run the numbers and said, we can't make this work. It's too expensive. It adds too much cost.
Maybe they should get some help in running some of the numbers sometimes. There are people that are willing to do that and assist. A lot of civil engineers. I mean, I even taught a class to civil engineers about vegetated roofing systems, where they were getting like 6 hours worth of credits out of my what turned out to be 4-hour presentation. And they knew nothing. They knew nothing about them at all. And that they're the ones that are the first people up front that make contact with the developer and landscapers as well. They're out there in front of the architect. A lot of times the landscape people have done whatever they're going to do to our roof before the architect has even been hired. And
I
then they
don't
have
know
to go
about
back
that.
and
I mean,
refix it.
I'm not letting anybody do anything to one of my roofs. I mean, we're the ones that detail it, and we've got to waterproof it. So
Yeah, right. And wind uplift and everything else. I mean, I've been through that. I mean, I'm as a spec writer, not an architect. I'm as a certified specification writer. I have 400 projects over my career, and they go all the way from the state of New York to Florida, Michigan, all the way to Texas. I've got green roofs all over the country, and they're acting very efficiently. And they're going up in places where, that you have problems like downtown DC, where you have combined stormwater and wastewater systems, and that's where it benefits the most. But
Hey, William, let's go to
even
some
before then, it was
comments here.
really great. So, I mean,
Katie, you have your hand raised. Let's go to Katie.
Yeah, hey, thank you. So I just wanted to say, I understand what Matt said. Yeah, that's great. I totally understand what William's saying, but this is the public school system that we are the taxpayers for. This is not a private entity, a company that we're trying to, force. But like, look at Haley Rise. That's a great example. That was a private entity. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the public school system to, that they haven't even been approved, you know what I mean? Like, this has to still go through the bond issue and everything. And the elementary school, I will say, that is a perfect location for this. You want to teach these little kids about green roofs and the environment. I'm gonna tell you, I mean, the middle school was just done, Langston Hughes, where my son went. That was done. They didn't do any green roof or anything, but I'm thinking an elementary school, out of every kind of a school, that is the one I think that would make the most sense to pilot this. Because the kids could be learning about this as, as the renovation is going on. So that's all I wanted to say. Also, this is again, a public entity. It's our tax dollars. I don't think it's unreasonable.
there's a perfect example of a beneficial green roof. I'll have to get some research on it. That was an existing building in Maryland. It was a good sized building. So whether to do it as a conventional white roof or as a green roof, and Semper Green was involved in it, as well as other people that I know, for the membrane. They stayed with a basic membrane, and it proved beneficial to put the green roof on the building. And it was a good sized building, putting a lot of it up there. I'll get information on that and from Semper Green, because they did the project. It's been several years ago now. And I think it's in Bowie somewhere. I'm not sure.
That's okay. Yeah, sure. You can.
And I think it's a middle school. I'm not sure. A good sized building.
All right. Sue?
Katie makes a great point that the students get so excited when they can make computations of how much energy is being saved in a school. Thinking about solar panels, William, you mentioned that solar panels can work better in conjunction with a green roof. If you could explain that a little bit more. I know like Virginia Beach schools, they put, I think it was 6,200 feet of solar panels, and they put them on existing roofs, and it saved 50% of the energy that the school ran on. And when kids can see that, they get excited about math. They get excited about science when they see the green roof. They get excited in the outdoor classroom, whereas hands-on discovery of the soil and water and the environment. And so, you know, these things are really important. And Fairfax County needs to start somewhere. They're just way behind. If you look at Discovery Elementary School in Arlington, just Google it. It's a LEED school. It has all kinds of features, you know, and I understand that Fairfax County goes by chips, not LEEDs, but you know, there needs to be a start. You know, certainly they could strive toward schools like Discovery Elementary School, especially when they end up, you know, building a school, you know, from the ground up.
Right. The basic information, has been a number of studies out going back now probably about 5 or 6 years, where they started to actually look at solar panels and the reflected photons that come back up to the backside of the panels. It's shade down there, well, no, but heat comes back. And the temperature of the panels were running several degrees cooler when they were installed over top of a vegetated roof. All this vegetation that goes up on the roof is because shading is like, okay, we can't really tell for sure. It all grows in the shade or grows in the sun. It's like, you know, there are plants that do not need any sun at all, really. Those are called mushrooms, but this is not mushrooms. But it's basically the standard sedums will grow in shade that they use. And in that case, the panel runs cooler. The panel running cooler runs more efficiently. It's not a huge amount, but it also, what it does in addition is that the panel running cooler increases its lifespan. So you get a longer lifespan of the panel, and you get a panel that's running cooler and more efficiently.
Okay, good. Also on the sedum, I had read that often if you mix the sedum with native plants, such as like here in Virginia, it'd be like, you know, a mixed sedum with some native strawberries and a few native plants, that it increases the success of the sedum.
Yeah, and actually what it is that if you're going to introduce native plants, then you want to actually increase the effectiveness of the native plants. I actually have an article that's written, that's out on it's
It's okay, it's late.
but it's, yeah, right. I can't think of the name of the organization I wrote it for, but it's out there, and it's based upon what plants that are natives in this area here that grow well and effectively on a vegetated roof. And that was put together by American Hydrotech several years ago, based upon their experience of having used these, and they developed them for several different major cities where they had a lot of green roofs going up and people wanting to do native plants. So out there is a whole list that has to deal with this area in general, that has the actual plants that grow on their own or need a little assistance, that are all native plants that can go on a green roof on a 6-inch steep system or on a larger 8-inch steep system.
Yeah.
Plant Nova Natives, that's where it's at, under the professional heading.
Right, right. Well, I hope Fairfax County takes a good look at this. And, you know, I think they tend to rubber stamp renovations. And, you know, this is one, I think, exception. you know, and I think that it could be a start and a model for better renovations in the future for Fairfax County, because a building just isn't a, you know, a sterile, you know, structure for learning. You know, the kind of features that we're asking for makes this like a learning laboratory for students. They'll be
Yeah, I
proud.
mean,
Cool.
we're looking at a county that has a system here where, you know, if you put anything out on a roof where a person can occupy it, they consider that the entire roof space that can be accessed is a room, not an exposed open area. So for fire purposes, it's like, well, wait a minute, how do you support your pavers? Well, it's plastic. But they consider it a room.
I'm gonna go to Tammy, William. Tammy?
Yes, thank you. And Sue, I am so proud to serve with you on this committee. Your enthusiasm, your understanding of education, your concern for the environment. Kudos to you. Kudos to William. I will say, in my experience of living in this county for almost 50 years, your statement that this is rubber stamp is the MO of Fairfax County Public Schools is right on. You can go from school to school. They take variations when they redo something. They redo the next school to look exactly like the last school. This is crazy. We are talking energy, electricity costs that are never going to go down. They're only going to go up. We have so much demand on our electricity grid. You would think they would be jumping for joy at something that would cut that usage, yet they can't see the forest through the trees. And that's why I said, don't come back next month. You need to talk to your superiors and get Fairfax County Public Schools thinking in a different way. It's been years that we had a Charlottesville architecture firm come up here, and when we were meeting in the old building in the old police station, they gave them a magnificent account. And would they accept anything that those people said? Hell no. So this has to be pushed. And if we're the body to push it, we'll push it. Thank you.
That's the VMDO architects. They
Correct.
also built Manassas City Park.
100%.
And also built Discovery
Completely
Elementary
holistic
in
school.
Arlington.
And Matt, I appreciate your comment. Is this the only saving grace that we're going to harp on? It's a priority. We have William's expertise here, but I think our heart is in the right spot. We're Reston. This is a biophilic community. Come on.
I wouldn't doubt anybody's heart being in the right spot. I just would say that, I mean, you could have a well-scoring LEED building, you know, LEED gold building that doesn't have a green roof. You know, there's many different ways we can improve sustainability on a building.
Correct. But that is not what Fairfax County Public Schools is budgeting. And they need to think they're either going to pay now with putting in a green roof or more insulation, or we're going to be paying as taxpayers forever for exceedingly high energy costs. You know, this is our state of affairs. Thank you.
And Matt, one other question, one other comment. I'm pretty sure you don't mean it this way, mean your comments this way, but to me, it isn't an either or situation. They should be using every technique they can to lower their cost, over their long-term costs. There's no reason why they can't do that.
Right.
I guess I am not an expert on schools, so I will say that. You know, I work in big multifamily housing. I don't know what their performance look like, and I don't know how they budget out projects, but I just do know, because I've studied it on dozens, if not 100 jobs now, that anytime you start adding these requirements to a project that exceed what is required by the building code, that there is cost, and sometimes it's a significant cost that comes with that. So I'm a realist. Like I agree that on every project, everything, should be built as like in a perfect world, that'd be great. But I'm also like practical about what's actually feasible. So, but like I said, I'm not an expert on schools, so I don't know what their budgets look like and what their cost allocations are for things like this.
The
The
name of the
students designed
school,
this.
John
the
has
name
his
of the
hand up.
school
Let's go
in
to John.
Maryland.
William, let's go to
I have
John.
I have to agree with Matt here. I think everyone's heart is in the right place, and given unlimited budgets and unlimited schedules, I think anyone in any company, any school would do all of it. But there's balance that we have to strike here in all of these things, and Matt's right. And so I do think that as we're thinking about the schools and other companies and whatever, we do need to strike a balance and be understanding. We need to push, I agree, and I'm all for that. But we also need to be understanding, and if we just need to be reasonable as we're doing this together.
There's a lot more to that too, is that if you want to see a huge roof on an elementary school, it's fairly recent, like 2013 was when it was installed, or that was when they started the design part. Herbert Hoover Middle School in Potomac in the state of Maryland, in Montgomery County. Just Google that. It's a massive school. It's an entirely 100% green roof over new construction, as well as going back over the existing building construction.
Right. But as everybody's pointing out, there is a cost to all this, and that's the thing that's missing to this discussion is I think we all are not thinking about the cost. Matt threw out a number. Let's take a 20,000 square foot roof at $25 a square foot. That's $500,000 of added cost that if you were looking for energy efficiency, you could probably do that even better with insulation at a much cheaper price. So I'm a big promoter of green roofs. I've designed a ton of green roofs, but there is a cost. And the energy over time cost, Fairfax budgets for that differently. And some of these upfront, get the school built in the ground day one is different than their long-term costs. You certainly want to be energy efficient and do everything you can. But as Matt pointed out, there are many ways to get that energy efficiency, and green roofs is just one possibility out of many others. And so just keep that in mind. And the minute you open up a green roof to students and exposure and provide access, now you've really increased the cost, because now you have to get people up there on the roof and do a number of other different things. So
two means of egress and full accessibility.
Yeah, keep that in mind. Well, some people were Tammy. Some people were saying let's use it as an education. And if you're going to use it as education, you probably have to get some people up there to be able to see it. So
two stairs and a fully accessible elevator would be required to occupy the green roof.
I was not suggesting that the children go up at all. Like I just Googled this Hoover Middle School. They could, aerial shots. It could be an in-classroom lesson.
We have drones. We don't need to have kids walking
right.
on
Just to be
roofs.
clear, I was not suggesting elementary school kids are climbing on their roof.
Good deal. Listen, I think we can beat this to death tonight, but I think we know the flavor of it right now. Let's let the applicant come back, let the school system come back with some answers, and hopefully we'll move the needle, and we'll see if we can get them to commit to something that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have committed to. So with that, it's pretty late in the evening. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll move for that.
I second.
All right, I'm going to just assume it's all in favor. All right, thanks for everybody's comments tonight. I think it was a good meeting. We got a lot out there. The applicant certainly needs to come back with a little bit more preparation of some of the responses for sure tonight.
Gwen, thank you very much for hosting us. Appreciate that.
Oh, sure. Not a
And
problem.
once again, Angelica, for taking excellent meeting minutes. Very, very helpful.
Yes, good minutes.
All right, everybody have a rest of a good evening.
Good night.
Thank you. Night all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.